Tommy forgot about the machines. The monsters from earlier in the day were just a short distance away, quiet, motionless. The boy stared at the flattened hill. He grew more confident with each second. Tommy's rigid little frame relaxed. He exhaled. It moved some of the sand where the hill stood. It frightened him for a moment. Then the sand moved again, and Tommy wasn't breathing. He moved closer and saw a crack forming in the sand. Another crack, and another, until the sand caved in. A stampede of ants erupted from the ground. Tommy unleashed a scream that rivaled the sound of the machines. No! His face glowed red. No! He repeated. The ants worked furiously. Tommy watched helplessly as they engaged in their symphony of reconstruction. Tommy's eyes bounced across all the moving parts. As the hill went up, his spirits fell. His little body went limp. Tommy's chin started to wrinkle and quiver. His lower lip rolled over and shook. I tried. I did. I really did, he whimpered. The fallen hero could no longer restrain his emotion. The clear view of the ants was now blurred. Tears collected on his long eyelashes. But you can't understand. Because I'm just a boy, and you are ants. First one, then another. Tears splashed onto the newly formed hill. It looked just like the old one, minus the drops from Tommy's face. The gray smoke from the day was replaced by matching clouds. They must have waited for Tommy's cue. It started to rain. Tommy shuffled slowly up to his room. His energy was waning. He normally flew up the old staircase, trying to use as few stairs as possible. It was his little game. This time he climbed the stairs like a grown-up, carrying the weight of grown-up things, not like a boy. He had exhausted every logical option. But while Tommy stared into his closet, he remembered something. His mom read him a bedtime story about a boy that could draw pictures, and the pictures would become real. Before he could even think about the possibility, he was rummaging through his toy box in his closet. "I can use this," he blurted, grabbing some broken crayons and crumbled pieces of paper. His tongue wiggled at the corner of his mouth as he scrawled. He taped his new creation to his bedroom wall and dove back into the toy box, finding an old pair of swim goggles and a pair of toy antennas. A couple oven mittens and an old pillow wrapped in a black garbage bag hanging from his belt loop completed his costume. He twisted an old desk lamp to aim at his new picture, thinking it would add something magical to the moment. Tommy stood beside his masterpiece and waited. And waited. He held his breath in anticipation. Air started to leak from his puffed cheeks that looked more blue than the normal red. He let out a gasp. "Nothing! I knew it! Dumb idea!" he snapped, throwing the mittens to the floor. Tommy's feet hung off his bed, his face buried in his pillow. In spite of his costume, he didn't feel like one of them now. He felt like a stranger, different. Tommy realized, as much as he tried, he couldn't speak ant. His efforts were futile. Tommy rolled onto his side, wiping tears from his face. He sniffed, gazing out his window into the garden behind his house. That's where they should go, he thought to himself. His eyes coasted down the windowsill. A chunk of an orange cheese cracker he smuggled from the cupboard sat waiting for another adventurer. He snatched the morsel, clenched his teeth, and squeezed the cracker into powder. Crumbled cracker floated onto Tommy's blanket. Orange dust stuck to his fingers. The windowsill was empty. On that night, an adventurous hunter would have to exit without a prize. He flopped back onto his bed in an exasperated huff. Tommy stared at the ceiling like one gazing at the stars on a clear night. Just before drifting off to sleep, he muttered, "I wish I was an ant." That night, something slipped through the crack in the window sash, and it wasn't an ant. The hidden passage sparkled like a star on a clear night. Then a swirl of light raced through the crack. The radiant stream trickled, then poured into Tommy's room. It whirled softly, gathering like a silent storm of light. The shimmering haze illuminated his entire room, dancing shadows across the wall. It made no sound, but Tommy's drawing waved like a kite as the mist rushed by. It gathered like a spinning cloud just above Tommy's bed. The sleeping boy took a deep, relaxed breath as he fell deeper into his slumber. As he did, the mist entered Tommy, dashing in through his freckled nose. With each breath, more of the cloud disappeared. The unusual shadows faded as his room grew dimmer and dimmer. The darkness didn't understand why it had to step aside during its watch, but it did, for a time, in the small room at the top of the stairs in a little house on Sycamore Lane. As Tommy slept, he breathed in all the mist until darkness was able to return again.